If the letters SNK make you think of Attack on Titan, then it's time for a history lesson. If you've been to any big arcade since the 90s, or heck, even your local pizza joint, there's a slight chance you've run into a bright red cabinet with 2 joysticks and matching sets of colorful buttons. That, my friends, is the arcade platform known as the Neo Geo, an icon of a bygone era of gaming that continues to live on in the hearts of gamers such as myself. Yeah, there was also a Neo Geo console, but only diehards owned that expensive thing. Point is, with SNK going all in with the King of FIghers XIV, and the Neo Geo's 25th anniversary having passed, I figure it's time to give the platform its due. Here are my picks for the games that best display what SNK had to offer. I don't think I need to say any more. It's game time! Welcome to the galaxy that's home to the cartooniest bounty hunters this side of the Kuiper Belt. Top Hunter Roddy and Cathy is one of those lesser-known titles that still proves to be as enjoyable as it is silly. I'm being serious here, this game doesn't take itself seriously at all. These hunters have arms like Mr. Fantastic, and the bad guys look like the kind of mooks from your old-fashioned Saturday morning cartoon. This platformer is a basic left-to-right beating-up mooks affair, but the two-plane design of the levels and the way they're laid out make it anything but boring. And your hunters are capable of quite a lot. Those stretchy arms of theirs are capable of grabbing pretty much anything that's not nailed down, throwing objects like Mario 2, suplexing enemies in close, and hanging around like monkeys. There's even stuff like riot armors with adorable little gloves that punch like pistons. And with bounties to be hunted, that means there's going to be bosses. And they've got some strategy to them, grabbing their ammo and waiting for the right time to strike back. This game isn't exactly easy either. I mean, it's an arcade game, so you're going to be facing all manner of obstacles and either staying sharp or reaching for your next quarter. Oh, and did I mention that you actually have fighting game commands that work? Looks like SNK's ripping off of Capcom wasn't limited to fighting games. In the early days of Neo Geo, SNK was running it on the strength of 2 major fighting series, Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting. Both of these improved over time, and in all honesty, Art of Fighting 3 is nearly indistinguishable from its previous games. The core fighting system is still there. You've got your punch button, your kick button, special moves are regulated by your spirit gauge, you know, the standard elements of AOF, but the elements of the game have been refined to the point that it just feels like a different game completely. For one thing, the gameplay takes a few cues from 3D fighters of the day, such as juggle combos as well as standard OTGs. As such, the gameplay focuses more on close-range combos other than well-timed single hits. Overall, the gameplay feels more refined, and it's clear that SNK was treating this series with the love it needed. Probably the biggest step up with this game, however, is in the presentation. The backgrounds look very well drawn and animated. There's a lot of action in these backgrounds, and plenty of effective lighting and visual touches that give things a lot of life. And that sprite work is a thing of beauty. The animations used motion capture to make things look fluid and add a layer of realism to the visuals in the game. I've always been a gameplay over graphics guy, but when the graphics complement solid gameplay, you just can't go wrong. Hey look, it's those cute little dragons from Bubble Bobble! You know, Bubble Bobble? That old co-op arcade game where you couldn't see the true ending unless you had 2 players? Why the hell would you do that, Taito? So they come to Neo Geo with a colorful bubble launcher and lay the foundations for a successful series called Bust-A-Move. Or Puzzle Bobble. Man, localization name changes are confusing sometimes. The basics are simple enough. Angle your shot, match 3 bubbles of the same color to burst them, and clear the stage by clearing the board. It's a simple concept, but that's to be expected for a puzzle game, and yeah, it works. And come on, you can't tell me it's not super satisfying to gain huge points by dropping clusters of bubbles with a single well-placed shot. Cha-ching, baby! But while single-player busting is fun, what makes this game and this series such a blast is when you manage to grab someone who's willing to quarter up. Versus mode is freaking intense, especially when you have high-level players. When you have an intense seesaw battle of bubbles, you won't know when a single bubble can send the scales tumbling down and send the opponent over the line. And if you lived in the 90s and 2000s, chances are there was a game in this series on a platform you owned. Of course, I doubt we'll ever see it to that extent again now that Taito is owned by Squeenix, who seems to be more concerned with you-know-what than anything else. I hate mergers sometimes. I've talked about the 2D shooter genre quite a bit in the past, and one thing that a lot of them have in common is that they're tough. To get far, you need a sharp eye and good reflexes. So believe me when I say this. Don't let the challenge factor of Pulstar put you off. So word is, some guys who left Irem, also known as the R-Type guys, broke off to make a new studio, and several years down the line, they decided, hey, remember that awesome horizontal shooter we did? The one with the force ball that was really hard? Yeah, let's do that for the Neo Geo, except make it just different enough so that our old bosses don't sue us. Oh, and for good measure, pre-render our graphics in super gimmicky 3D! Yeah, this game still has the force ball, and it still provides power fire and protects you from small enemies and shots, but you can't detach it like you could in R-Type. That is, unless you use it for some high-quality kabooms. This is the kind of shooter that relies on knowing the stage and planning your movement carefully to ensure your survival. Or, you could just die. Of course, if you do survive, you've got some really visually impressive bosses to deal with. There are some issues with the game, foremost among them is the occasional slowdown. Even with that aside, it's still a fun and challenging shmup. Just be prepared to die a lot. Holy sparkles, this is too adorbs! Oh my god, why is this AI so ridiculous? That, my friends, is the experience I had with Twinkle Star sprites. Behind all the sugar and cutesy fairies and whatnot lies a game that's quite the challenge, and requires a lot more strategy than your average shmup. That's probably because it combines the genre with something akin to a classic head-to-head puzzler, which basically means that just hammering on the fire button isn't going to get you far. You'll need to work your brain as well as your buttons to chain explosions together to attack your opponent as well as counter their own attacks. It's challenging, but oh so satisfying, and high-level play can get intense, believe me. Once the attacks start flying back and forth from getting caught in the chain explosions like a mock-speed game of bullet tennis, you'll be desperate for a moment just to catch your breath. And that's not even talking about special attacks where you send over a freaking boss. Yeah, there's a story in there, but it's all pretty much just lighthearted marshmallow fluff. The graphics and soundtrack are also very lighthearted, but don't let that fool you. Whether you're looking for a challenge against the computer or the kind of challenge you can play with friends, you'll find it here in spades. This is an incredibly fun game that I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to.
In America.
As I've said before, I'm a fan of samurai characters. The weapons, the aesthetic, they're just so cool. And of course, they're the kind of character you'd expect to see in fighting games. But before we get the obvious out of the way, let's talk about The Last Blade 2. This game took what its predecessor delivered and expanded upon it, creating an exceptionally deep fighting game. Apart from the choice of power style, which gives you access to a powerful super desperation move and the ability to super cancel, and speed style, which allows you to use swift combos to rack up damage and chain several normal moves into specials and even supers, there's a third style called Extreme, which combines the best of both worlds but makes you into a glass cannon. The fundamentals are the same as before, relying on skillful placement of attacks and well-timed parries. In terms of presentation, this game looks and sounds great. The music offers synthesized Japanese instrumentation for some very fitting themes, the backgrounds are full of atmosphere, and the characters are very well animated. But there is one thing to note about this game. It's freaking dark, man! Even more so than its predecessor. The plot centers around something called Hell's Gate and the revival of the dead or whatnot, and a bit more emphasis is placed on this story, both in the aesthetic and in the cutscenes. Heck, they had to make a few characters' storylines lighter just to compensate. Still, this is a challenging and enjoyable game that's well worth putting time into. That is, unless you're into... Okay, now we can talk about the obvious samurai game. What, like you weren't expecting to see a Samurai Showdown game on this list? The original Samurai Showdown was the height of my nostalgia as far as the Neo Geo is concerned, but honestly, the sequel just did everything better. If you're not the combo type of person and instead relish the thrill of landing that one big hit at just the right time, this game will be right in your wheelhouse. The gameplay was refined in several ways over the first game, featuring tighter controls and more mobility options to avoid attacks, plus the ability to parry your opponent's strike, leaving them open for a huge blow, which still slows down the game to emphasize just how much blood your victim just lost. Oh, and did I mention that they added super moves? Yeah, when that rage gauge is surging, you can unleash a move that not only deals a crap ton of damage, but also breaks your opponent's weapon. This game also looks a lot better, with better sprite work and backgrounds that look even more vibrant and full of life, and a soundtrack that really puts you in that hype mood. Plus, among the new characters, we got a new rival for Haomaru. What is it with rivals showing up for the main character in the sequel to SNK games? Oh, and there's a way to fight the referee. Make of that what you will. Hey kids, it's time for Saturday Morning Contra! Real talk though, if I didn't include a Metal Slug game on this list, I would get rocket launchered in the face. As to which one, I'm going with Metal Slug 3. The franchise as a whole prides itself in its fundamentals. It's always cartoony and vibrant, there's always a crap ton of weapons to get your grubby little mitts on, there are always vehicles that are actually beneficial to the gameplay, there are always awesome boss battles, and the games are always challenging as all get out, leading to numerous coins spent, and just as many groans when you lose credit for all those POWs you rescued. However, Metal Slug 3 adds a couple things to the table. First and foremost, there are multiple paths through each level. Finding a new path means you'll rarely have the same experience twice. They all lead to the same bosses, but you may be better equipped for the battle. Second, there are a whole bunch of new vehicles to use, including a chopper, a drill, and even an elephant. Yeah, we're going full Hannibal here. Third, and this is personally something I find hilarious, you can get turned into a zombie, with a screen-range blood vomit. Yeah, I know we reached the point of insanity with the second game with the aliens and all that, but I think it's best that we don't question it. Back in 1994, SNK had the brilliant idea of a dream match between characters from its various games with some original characters thrown in for good measure. Nowadays, the King of FIghterZ is the only series that seems to be keeping SNK's skin in the game, so to speak. Wasn't always this way, but hey, they're working on it. Anyways, when you ask longtime fans which KOF game rules the roost on the Neo Geo, many will point to 98, and I can honestly see why. Following the conclusion of the Orochi saga in 97 the year before, KOF 98 was billed as a dream match title, and snakes on a plane did it live up to that moniker. Plot? Who needs plot? You form up your team of 3 tryhards, beat up a bunch of other teams with flashy super moves, and then tear your hair out as Omega Rugal makes you his bitch. But enough about non-existent plots. Check out this roster, fam! Most of the fighters from 94 to 97 have come to the ring, and despite the number of characters, the game is actually pretty balanced. The game even gives you a handicap when you lose a round, whether giving you a higher maximum super level if you're using advanced mode, or making it easier to reach your maximum power if you're using extra mode. The sprite work is awesome as well, and the characters and their moves actually look really good. The backgrounds are also very well done, and the music will get you pumped. However, I wouldn't recommend it. Not because the game isn't good, I mean it's great, but why would you get KOF 98 when Ultimate Match gives you everything that the original did and then some? Unless you know someone who works for the Department of Redundancy Department. Certainly, they existed. Games overblown by hype. Games cursed with disappointment. But here, they do not exist. Only good games and bad games here. For here, the mighty rule! Damn freaking straight. If there's one game that captures everything great about the Neo Geo platform, it's Garou, Mark of the Wolves. This cult classic is often regarded as the Neo Geo's last truly great game, and sweet merciful Peloton, it was this one hell of a swan song. For one thing, the game's presentation is simply fantastic. The sprite work is some of the best in the Neo Geo's lineup, with animations that are crisp and sharp and super moves that are a sight to behold. The backgrounds are also really well designed and animated, and the action is backed by an awesome soundtrack. But where Garou really shines at the top is its fighting system. Despite being the last game in the Fatal Fury series chronologically, fighting planes of the OG Fatal Fury games are gone, but in their place is one of the deepest tactical systems in fighting games, both on offense and on defense. On defense, you have the Just Defend system, which rewards well-timed blocks with regaining health, shorter block stun, and even defense in the air. On the offensive side of the coin is the game's main hook, the Tactical Offense Position, or TOP for short. When your TOP is active, you get perks like health regen, boosted meter gain, and more powerful attacks. The key to the strategy? Where you put the TOP on your health bar. This level of strategy makes for some incredibly high-level tactics, but once you master it, you feel like a total badass. Oh, and the cherry on top? This game gave us Rock Howard. Enough said. I'm the Quarter Guy, and in a recent interview with 4Gamer, the lead developers of KOF 14 revealed that they want to make a sequel to Garou, even showing off sprites of the sequel that had been in development. They apparently dropped a hint that any chance of a new Garou may depend on how well KOF 14 does. So if you want to see Rock in action again, You know what to do. Hey guys, thanks for joining me on this little history lesson. If you have your own memories of Neo Geo, feel free to share them in the comments below. As always, I have links to my other videos, info regarding my social media, as well as my Twitch channel where I'm currently streaming on weekends to support Extra Life and the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. If you want to support my channel and score some perks, there's also a link to my Patreon. Thanks again, and until next time, this is the Quarter Guy, signing out.